I see that the way in which the National Party wants to make progress on issues like water, and we can put social welfare and ACC and everything else in with it, is to sort of just pull the plug on the whole system. What we've got here is the end of democracy in one of Canterbury's most important local government agencies. Now, I would like to know where the National Party members of Canterbury were during the election, because if there was ever a time when ECAN wasn't meeting its responsibilities, it was then and immediately before. I know that. The government that I represented had to pay ECAN $500,000 to actually get a water plan. And if the members of the National Party in Canterbury had been so dead keen on ending democracy in Canterbury, why didn't they tell the people of Canterbury that's what they stood for? Why didn't they actually stand up at the election and say, we've got a plan to solve the water problem, we're going to dismiss the whole ECAN elected representatives? Well, that would have been as popular as a cold cup of water on a freezing day in the Antarctic. It wouldn't have gone down, and no National Party member had either the foresight or the gumption to do it. They didn't. So what they've done is they've had a meeting with a cabal of mayors. These mayors didn't consult with anybody. Did the mayors consult with the elected representatives of the Parliament in Canterbury? If they consulted with the National Party members, they didn't consult with the Labor Party members and the Progressive Party member in Canterbury. No consultation with us. So did they just go to where they thought they could get some direct action like this? The answer is yes. And here's the incredible thing. The ACT Party, which stands for non-intervention all over the place. You can't intervene in the economy, you can't intervene in social welfare, you can't intervene in ACC, it's all got to be privatised, it's all got to be run by people, and now they want to intervene in the most dramatic way that you could possibly intervene in democracy, and that's cancel it. We're not going to have it. Now, not only that, we're not going to have it for just now, between now and the election. I've heard Rodney mentioned by the National Party. Talk about comparing apples with a bunch of oranges. Here we've got the issue. In Rodney, Sandra Lee appointed a commissioner 10 months out from the election. And she determined that an election would be held within 10 months. And it was. It was a one-off election and it was outside of time, but she made sure that the elected representatives of Rodney were elected within 10 months of the commissioner. What we've got here is a cancellation of democracy in Canterbury for 3.5 years. Not 10 months, 3.5 years. And where was the commitment and the public announcement of this to the people of Canterbury before the election? Didn't hear a word of it. And the irony of this is, as my colleagues know, and National Party members know, because National Party members and Labor and Progressive members were at a special briefing by ECAN about 4 or 5 months ago, and I would say, and I have a fair idea of what ECAN's failings were in terms of water policy, for the first time, ECAN had actually got its act together and was forming a water policy that had some coherence and some credibility. So they'd actually done it, and just when they're about to implement it, they get abolished. What sort of democracy is that? Are you frightened of democracy? Are you frightened of it?
Order.
The incredible irony of this.
The member shouldn't include the speaker with the use of his pronoun.
I apologise. The incredible thing about this is poor old Alec Neil. You know, Alec Neil was a member who couldn't get elected eventually, and he came in here about, I don't know, 2 or 3 times as Taylor and Charlie 3, was it? And he decided he'd give it up and go for local government. He even stood against me, which was a desperate measure for national. And so finally he gets elected to ECAN. He's found his place. And he works through with a little bit of argy-bargy, and he gets to be the chairman. And then his own party dismiss him. The poor guy, he couldn't make it in here, so he made it at the local government level, and they cut him off at the knees. But more important than Alec Neil is the fact that the people of Canterbury will not have any choices. They'll have people coming in. Where's the principle of no taxation without representation. Where's that principle? This ECAN institution has got rating responsibilities, and each year will strike a rate. Where is the input from the people of Canterbury in that? Where are the elected members that they elect to implement the policies that they vote for? They haven't got any policies to vote for because the people that are being appointed are not being voted in at all. They're being appointed by Rodney Hyde, the great anti-interventionist, and Nick Smith, the Minister for the Environment. Those are the two who are appointing them. They've sacked the elected representatives, the people we all voted for in Canterbury, and they've put in are going to put another 8 people to run it for 3.5 years. No election, no responsibility to the people in terms of taxation and rating. I mean, this has got to be one of the most draconian anti-democratic events that I've seen in my time in this House, and that's quite a long time now. I've never seen anything like this. Never seen anything like this. A rateable authority which has no elected representatives, no accountability to the people, no consultation with the people before it's done, none whatever. Not with their elected representatives in Parliament, not with their elected representatives or the people in Canterbury, but a cabal of mayors and a couple of ministers who are going to decide. Now, the thing that I know about people like Rodney Hyde is they will say, why should Wellington tell us what to do? Well, actually, at the very time that rings in my mind at hearing Rodney, he's actually forcing a gargantuan amalgamation mistake on Auckland, which is going to be like complete chaos in the social and economic environment of that city, and I know it pretty well. I lived there for 46 years, and I will guarantee you that the National Party will regret till the day they lose office, which will be at the next election, what they've done in Auckland. What they have done in Auckland. You wait until the people of Auckland take retribution in about 16 or 17 months' time, because they will. And if you think they're going to blame Rodney Hyde, get a life. They're going to blame you, because not you, Mr. Speaker, the National Party. Now, in effect, Mr. Speaker, the Canterbury Regional Council has been abolished, excluded from the pending local government elections. And we've got to remember that the elections are going to be held in October. There's only a few months really away. And they're cancelled. Why didn't the government have the foresight to allow the people of Canterbury to determine this matter? If we're so worried about ECAN, if we're so worried about the water situation and everything else, we've got a democratic election coming up in a few months. Why couldn't the people of Canterbury decide the future of their Environment Council instead of Rodney Hyde and Nick Smith? Now, if I put to the people of Canterbury, I've got a good idea. Here's a choice. We'll let you choose between having Rodney Hyde and Nick Smith decide the future of ECAN and how it works for the next 3.5 years, or you can decide it in an election, a free election in... the people of Canterbury can decide at a free election in a few months' time. I will guarantee the House that overwhelmingly, over 95% of people in Canterbury would vote for the election and having a say in that election. They wouldn't be voting for Rodney Hyde, I'll tell you that now, and they wouldn't be voting for Nick Smith, not to decide the future of ECAN, not in a million years. So the government has actually intervened in the democratic process. It's intervened for up to 3.5 years. It will not have any the people of Canterbury will not have any representation, no consultation, taxation without representation, and just at the very time when ECAN had got a coherent water policy together, and most of us who were there, I'm sure, know that is absolutely true, including National Party members. David Carter was there, and he knows what the reality is, and at that very time the National Party canned democracy in Canterbury. It's a most unbelievable act. The people of Canterbury won't forget it in a long time. And following the local body elections next year, there's a general election, and the people of Canterbury won't forget the National Party at that point either. So, Mr Speaker, that is the indictment on the National Party: anti-democracy, anti-representation, anti-consultation, and abrogating the rights of people to participate in a free election for the people to represent them in their own region.
Dr. Russell Norman.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I rise to speak